Do you know your ABCs? And no, I'm not talking about your kindergarten ABCs all the way A to Z kind of thing. I'm talking about basic life support. Do you know what they stand for? Airway, breathing, circulation. This is what saves lives, guys. Make sure you know this really, really well because at the end of the day, this is what's going to save the kid's life. Welcome. My name is JT Weatherford. I am a certified pediatric emergency nurse with 15 years of experience. Today we're going to be talking about BLS. So tune in, hang on, and we're going to get right into it. Your first one on the ABCs is your airway. So the things that you want to be checking for is, do you have a patent airway? If you have something blocking the airway, like vomit or blood or a foreign object, you're going to do nothing to be able to help them until you get that out of the way. Please don't do a blind finger sweep, especially because you never know if they're fully alert. That's the first thing. Let's back up a few steps. First thing you want to check is your scene safe? If your scene is unsafe, yeah, that's not a good thing. You don't want to be going and walking into something blind and then end up getting hurt yourself and becoming a patient yourself. Next thing is you want to check responsiveness. Are they awake? Are they conscious? Are they alert? You tap them on the shoulders and yell them. If you know their name, you're yelling their name and saying, hey, are you okay? You okay? JT, are you okay? Are you okay? If there's no response, then you want to check their airway to see if there's something blocking it. So if there's a foreign object that you can see and easily pull out, great. Please don't do a blind finger sweep, because if they suddenly do become alert, or say, for example, they start seizing and clench down, bye-bye finger. And now you created another foreign object. Please don't do that. So the things you want to do is to open the airway. So you do a head tilt, chin lift kind of thing if you are sure that there's no trauma. If there's trauma, then you're going to do a jaw thrust. You put your fingers back behind their jaw and push that jaw forward there. And that'll help open up their airway. You only do the jaw thrust if there is trauma involved, because you don't want to compromise any sort of spinal cord injury or anything like that. The next part of the ABCs is going to be your breathing. This is where you check to see if they are actually breathing. You're going to be looking for a chest rise and fall. These kind of all get done simultaneously, and I'll kind of put it all together at the end for you guys. Is the patient breathing? If not, you're going to provide rescue breaths. And the best way to determine if they're breathing or not is look at that chest. Is that chest going up and down? If it's not, then you're also checking for a pulse at the same time. And then that goes into your circulation part here. So for C, circulation, you're checking for a pulse. Older kids, you want to check the carotid. Little infants, even some of the toddlers, real chunky toddlers, you're checking for a brachial pulse in that upper arm right in here. And then if they don't have a pulse, then you're going to be starting compressions. The ratio for adults is always 30-2. Kids, it gets a little trickier. If you're on your own, it's always 30 compressions to 2 breaths. You're going to provide 30 quick compressions, about 100 to 110 a minute, right in that range right there. You can think of, there's multiple songs. The one I like thinking of that has the right tempo is Staying Alive. That one kind of keeps you right in tempo as to where you should be at. As soon as a partner shows up, you switch over to 15-2. 15 compressions to 2 breaths. I always teach people that if you forget and can't remember and you start doing 30-2, just stay 30-2. It's not going to hurt anything. They are showing that evidence-based practice is 15-2 on kids once you have a second rescuer. If it's just yourself, even if your partner does come in and you guys are still doing 30-2 and you forget, that's okay. Just keep going, because that's what's going to ultimately save the lives of these kiddos. The other thing that they teach lay people now too is that aren't medical, they just teach basic first aid, is compressions only, and that's it. Because they found that nobody was going to do breaths on strangers. Even on kids, people are so hesitant because they're like, I don't know you, I don't know what you've got, I don't want to get sick, especially with COVID that all happened and everything. People are so hesitant to do mouth-to-mouth rescue breaths, so nobody wants to do that. And then nobody would even do CPR, period, because they think, oh, if I can't do everything, I'm going to do nothing, which is worse. So at least do compressions. So then to talk about everything together, when you walk up to a patient and say, JT, you okay, you okay? And there's no response. You're immediately repositioning the head to see if that opens up the airway, and then also looking and feeling for a carotid pulse, brachial pulse if it's an infant or a toddler. And then also looking at the chest rise and fall. You have 10 seconds to do all that, less than 10 seconds. If you have none of that, you're going to start compressions. If you have a pulse, but they're not breathing, start breathing for the patient. If you're comfortable doing mouth to mouth, do mouth to mouth. If you have a bag valve mask, an anesthesia mask, something with a bag on it like that, depending on what your facility has, you want to use that. That's going to really help provide good breaths into those patients and get them oxygenated. Because the longer you go without oxygen, the quicker that brain's going to start dying, and you want to make sure you're perfusing that brain. The next thing I want to talk about is, do we do ABC or CAB? So this is airway breathing circulation, or do we do circulation airway breathing? When that patient walks in, the first thing, part of the video that I talked about before, was the pediatric assessment triangle, that across the room assessment. I'll put a link into here so you can go back and watch that video. When that patient's coming in, or you're going up through that patient, do you have profuse bleeding or anything that's going to stop you from being able to save this patient? If you have, say, a cut to the femoral artery, no matter what you do, airway, compressions, breathing, any of that stuff, it's going to be futile, and you're not going to be able to save this patient. You need to stop the bleeding first. So apply direct pressure, get somebody on that to stop that pressure or stop that bleeding, and then you can go down to your airway and breathing. Because if you think about it, if you're losing all this blood, you're not going to have the volume to perfuse the brain. So that's why they switched it several years ago. I remember when I first started 15 years ago, it was always ABC. And then they found that it was like, oh, hold on a second. We're not getting adequate circulation when we're losing all the volume. And then if it's internal bleeding, you don't know necessarily, you're just going to start doing your ABC, and there's not much you can do unless you're getting them to the OR. But if it's external bleeding, try and get that stopped as best as you can, and then go down to doing your basic life support. So those are your ABCs. Hope this helps. If you like it, subscribe, and make sure you give me a thumbs up. Let me know any videos that you guys want to see, any information you want to see about pediatric emergency medicine. Be happy to talk to you about it and produce a video. Have a great day, guys.